so much for clicking on the video. My name is Leah, and let's recap and review Real Housewives of Atlanta. This is season 15, episode 17, and part 1 of the reunion. So let's get into it. So before we get into it, we gonna get a little spicy. We have an update as well as a few tweets and a statement from the designer that Sheree used for She by Sheree. So the first thing we're going to talk about is Allison. So Drew's sister Allison posted up a statement on how she felt about everything, and I'm going to read the statement and then give you my thoughts. So it starts off like this. I went on RHOA to normalize the conversation on mental health. My vulnerability and willingness to share the trials of overcoming PTSD, anxiety, depression is to reduce the stigma and fear of those suffering in silence. No one has the blueprint of what a person looks like with mental health. What is normal? Was I supposed to show up in a straitjacket? Furthermore, I do not abuse alcohol or take any medication that interacts with alcohol. The statements Courtney Rose made on Speak On It were reckless, tasteless, insensitive, and ignorant. For Kandi Burruss to engage in such dialogue was diminishing. Mental health does not own a look nor concrete symptoms. It is my hopes that Courtney reflects on her baseless, careless words and grows enough empathy to not only issue a public apology, but take the time to educate herself on many forms of mental illness and the goal of never belittling or attacking anyone's experiencing mental illness again. So that was Allison's statement. Now, what I will say is she a better crisis manager than Courtney. Because this statement right here, it was concise and it got straight to the point. She gathered Courtney. Like what Courtney did on Speak On It was wrong. It was wrong. It was wrong. And yeah, it was wrong. Like, ma'am, don't speak on, it was just wrong. It was just wrong. And she had to tug on Kandi's wig because Kandi posted the original clip thinking the conversation that she was engaging in with Courtney was okay. And it wasn't until people checked her and was like, girl, that was not okay, that she decided to be like, okay, I was wrong. Because it was. We just gonna have to call a thing a thing. And I know there's a lot of people that love and support Kandi, but you got to call people out when they do wrong. And the way Kandi has been responding to this is not a good look. We just gonna have to call a thing a thing. We're just gonna have to call a thing a thing. She's striking channels. But now the strikes are gone. She's acting like, okay, but I said it to Drew's face. Just because you told Drew, and we'll talk about it in the review, that you didn't believe that her sister was battling mental illness doesn't mean that your statement wasn't ignorant. I've made statements like that before. I will never forget when I blurted, like I had a thought in my mind, I blurted it out about somebody's appearance in a video. Later on, the video showed that person had been in a drunk driving accident. And I learned that day, you got to think before you speak sometimes. Baby, all the time. So it's just like that happened to me in high school. And I am years away from high school, and it has stuck with me to where I was like, I remember that because I'm like, okay, I definitely have to think before I do things. Like I have to, you have to in certain situations. And in this situation, Kandi thought it was okay until people checked her. I thought my statement was okay until my teacher said something and corrected me. So you got to take your L. You got to take your L, ma'am. You just got to take your L. Talk about the designer. And I'm getting this information from AllTrueTea. Their information will be about below. But the designer Trey came out with a couple of statements on his Insta story about Sheree after he saw the clip, I guess, where they were talking about Rowan and Sheree paying and all that stuff. Well, this is what he had to say. Now, I know some of y'all have made comments about the way I read some of these statements. I will let you know this is not me, this is them, and I'm going to post it up for you about the grammatical errors. So don't try it. But he said this, response to the Housewives clip. Rowan gave me my money back. I spent $2,400 on your SHI. and she gave me 2,000. You ain't give me her SHI. I got receipts too. She said you ain't got no money. That's why she just reimbursed what I spent because she felt bad. I never got paid labor for my work on your runway pieces that you used. I did in 4 days. Also was on set altering them other clothes because they ain't the fit that models, and it's in parentheses, day rate wasn't paid either. Don't play with me. After this episode, I'ma drop all the receipts. Sent we got receipts. Then he goes on to say this: my video dropping Monday. Tired of being humble. He said my video dropping Monday. Trying of being humble. Trying of just taking it to be professional. I'm about to show my ass with my receipts. Must don't know I'm from Miami. Our mouths is reckless. Gonna call me a liar on national TV after I did all that SHI for you. You played me. I do so much SHI for people and they play and try me, but because I'm nonchalant, they think they got over me. You and the whole ship going down. Going effing, he said F down, going the F down. So pretty much Trey said you played with me and I'm tired of being played. You played with me and I'm tired of being played. So I don't know if the video's out because today is Monday, happy Labor Day. I don't know. I don't know if the video's out, but it seems like he gonna put it out. So if it come out, it come out. If it come out, it come out. So the last thing we're going to talk about is these tweets with Candy and a few other ladies. So, I guess Candy is still annoyed with Drew because she tweeted this last night. She said, the way she lied with a straight face, then called me a candy-clouded liar, then said, we're good, right? This was the definition of gaslighting. And this was Candy quote tweeting somebody else's response where they said, the way you sat on that chair and lied, I feel like you were being gaslit, Ralph. Hashtag RHOA Jesus Candy. Then Marlo tweeted a picture of when Kenya fell in Portugal, and she said, looks like y'all fave fell flat tonight. From her outfit to her tired reads, blank fake ass subpoena. It's still not open salon, blaming production for the lack of story. Hashtag RHOA, hashtag RIP to the shade assassin, hashtag the math ain't mathin'. I slightly don't disagree. And then the last one is Drew posted this and Candy quote tweeted it. And she said, at Candy, I respect you and would hate a small disagreement to hinder our friendship. I appreciate your support of me and my craft, but as a friend, there's a lot we need to unpack and discuss in order to move forward. I have questions that need to be answered. Hashtag RHOA. So then Candy quote tweeted and said this, and I would love to sit down with you and have this convo at Drew Sidora. So I guess we're going to get a speak on it with Drew and Candy. I guess. But let's get into this review. So the reunion opens up. It's July the 27th, 2023. They're filming this in New York. The backdrop is Portugal. We see Andy trying to center himself before the reunion. I thought it was kind of weird that he didn't do what he normally does, where he goes and visited all the other ladies' rooms, but he didn't do that while they're in their dressing room. I especially thought he would have done it with Drew, since they tried to do a whole Vanderpump Rules thing with Drew and capitalize off of the divorce, and it didn't really work. But I still thought he would go and speak to her, but he didn't. We see Kenya first on the stage. I think I still have the same feelings about how I felt about the outfits when I did my review on the reunion looks. I still don't like it. I don't like nobody's outfit really changed my opinion. I still think Courtney was the best dressed, in all honesty. But Kenya's the first one out. Then there's Sheree. Then there's Candy, and then the rest of the ladies. And then Sonya is the last one to come out with her baby bump. And everyone's ecstatic. So I don't think anybody I think she probably had shared with them that she had a miscarriage, but I don't think they had seen her with a visible baby bump. So a lot of people were happy to see her and things of that nature. So before the reunion officially got going, they introduced, like, Andy talks all the way, he talks to Candy, Sheree, Marlo, all of them. And we find out that Sonya's baby is due on December the 25th, this coming December. Drew is doing a lot better since the whole reveal of her getting a divorce from Ralph, but Ralph still lives in the house with her. Kenya, everyone's admiring her underboob area, and I like a nice underboob. I really like side boob. I think a side boob profile is something to be admired. Marlo has lost a considerable amount of weight, and we found out that she got them Ozempic shots. Now, I will say this, y'all. Them shots, you should not be taking it for weight loss. I am not a medical professional, but a lot of medical professionals have come out and told us that if the shots, you don't use things that are not meant for your body. Those shots are used for people that have insulin deficiency, like diabetes. Y'all about to mess up your bodies. Stop it. Stop taking them shots. Sheree lets us know that she actually did tweak her nose, that she said she was going in for health reasons, like breathing issues, and then she told the doctor to do something. Wrong move, lady. And then Andy makes a joke about Candy being booked and busy. Now, the way that the couch is set up, we know Andy is in the middle. On the left-hand side, you have Drew, Kenya, and Candy. On the right-hand side, you have Sheree, Marlo, and Sonya. So let's get into when the reunion really started to pick up. Really get into the reunion with Sheree's package. That's how it opens up officially with Sheree's package. So they ask her about Bob and the secret child. This story sounds weird to me because in the season, when they asked Sheree about the child or about that young lady, Sheree was like, oh yeah, the Cairo and the kids knew who she was. But now on the reunion, she's like, well, he had her before our relationship. But didn't Bob say that the girl is in between his two oldest kids? I don't know. That whole family tree don't make sense right now. It's not making sense. They then talk about Martell and that situation and how Bob and Martell meeting was it wasn't that awkward because it was a nice interaction. She was like, Bob loves staying at her home. Marlo said underneath her breath that she felt like that should have been the finale, not the whole past situation with the movie premiere. Kenya gets into it because Kenya and Sheree kind of get into it a little bit because Andy asks Kenya, why did she compare Martell and Bob as being the same? And she was like, because they're both womanizers. And she was like, and what I know of Martell, based off of what I've seen, he seems like a womanizer. He may treat her differently, but he seems like a womanizer. And then they talk about Speak on It, about, the whole comment where Candy called Drew on Speak on It saying that Sheree stole Drew's face and that was around the time with the whole rumors about Sheree doing something to her face. Then Sheree says, if I was Drew, I would be offended by you saying I look like her because that was one of my worst pictures. Now, y'all know I don't see it for Drew, but Drew is not ugly. So I was just like, Sheree, you trying to call her ugly and she not ugly. So the read doesn't hit. It doesn't hit. Just say that you didn't like the fact that y'all was trying to play in my face and say I look like her when I don't. When I feel like I'm already beautiful as it is. But to try to say Drew looked ugly in an underhanded way doesn't work. It doesn't work because Drew is not ugly. She's actually really pretty. And that's the thing. Candy should have just owned it because Candy was like, well, I was trying to say about that picture. No, ma'am. You was trying to act like that lady was trying to morph her face into Drew's face. So just own it. Just own it. So they then talking about love and marriage because Kenya brings up how Martell and the whole revenge porn situation with Melody, and Sheree says, I backed up off of him. She was like, we're still in communication, but I don't know what's really going on with that. Honestly, Sheree, you're stupid. You're too old to be this stupid because there's no way that I would still be in communication with any man or any person because I don't get down with that. if you're a man or a woman or anything in between, the moment you start putting out like that type of content on somebody you have previously had a relationship with, you are lame and you're disgusting to me. So I wouldn't even want to keep communicating with someone. I would block you, and I would hope if you sent him pictures, your face wasn't in it. Because to threaten somebody that's specifically the mother of your kids like that, you're a disgusting human being. You're disgusting. You're disgusting. And for Sheree to be like, oh, well, I don't know what's going on. Or you do. Don't be stupid, lady. You just don't think it's that big of a deal, and you still like hooking up with him. So then they start talking about the whole DM conversation, and Kenya wasn't doing herself any favors with this conversation. I still hold true to what I felt when that episode premiered for the first two episodes of this season. You should have brought it up before then. If you knew they were talking in any way or any capacity and you really cared about your friendship, Kenya should have talked to Sheree beforehand, but you tried to embarrass her by pulling her to side when the cameras are on, when the man is there, and give her this information. And to make matters worse, you didn't even want to like show it when they were trying to, and you didn't have proof. That's the other part. Because he deleted it, you should have just kept that to yourself. You should have never brought it up, ma'am. You should have never brought it up if you were not going to have proof. You can't do stuff like that. Even if you are like, because I know some people are going to be like, well, even if she had proof, Sheree might not even believed her. That is true. You may be right, but the proof would have been better. Because if you just come up to me and be like, my man tried to slide in your DMs and I ask you for proof and you don't have it, I'm going to be like, well, why are you telling me this? Why are you telling me this? You ain't got proof. You ain't got proof. So, and then you hear Marlo saying it's the time, and was that really the time or the place? And Marlo was right. I ain't even gonna lie. Like if Kenya really cared about her friendship with Sheree, or if she really was considering her relationship with Sheree or their friendship, then girl, you could have pulled her aside well before y'all were in that type of situation and environment to then try to embarrass her like that. Because that's really what it was. It was embarrassing. That's why Sheree got defensive, and that's why Martell got defensive, because he was like, you're not going to be here trying to blow up my spot and not think I ain't going to get back at you. It is what it is. Y'all was matching each other energy, like I said before. And then they talk about Kenya's divorce. Andy's like, is your divorce? You still getting divorced? And he's like, is it over? And Kenya's like, it's not. And we talked about that in one of my speak on this too, where pretty much Mark is now trying to hold Kenya in contempt of court. Then Kenya Kenya, you disappointed me. You disappointed me. Because Kenya brings out, because she talks about how Mark was trying to hold her in contempt of court, as well as bring up how he didn't like the fact that Kenya had Brooklyn in, like, I guess, an unhealthy situation where you have Marlo kicking on Kenya's door. We remember that in Birmingham. And she tried to say now that Marlo is going to be subpoenaed for court. And Marlo was like, I'm not going to court. And then Kenya underneath her breath was like, well, not under, she said, she was like, but you'll be my witness. And Marlo's like, I'm not going to court. And Kenya's like, well, you'll go to jail. And Marlo's like, I've been to jail. It ain't nothing to me. And I was like, yeah, Kenya. And then she pulls out this receipt, and it is a blank piece of paper. A blank piece of paper. And she was like, well, my team. I said, girl, I know for a fact you did not pull out a receipt that you didn't vet first. Like, you two, you're a veteran, sis. You've been on this. Kenya, I was so disappointed. Because you've been on Real Housewives of Atlanta since season 5. You know, if you going to pull out a receipt, it got to be validity to it. Girl, you pulled out a blank piece of paper and everybody laughed in your face. I was disappointed, girl. So disappointed. And then it was the fact that Marlo was getting at you, like that whole like I'm used to going to jail, when Kenya was like, you'll go to jail, and she's like, I'm used to going to jail. It's whatever to me. And then she brings up about, I guess, in the discovery, if you know, like when you get a divorce, you can have them do a discovery. Kenya said that I guess Marlo had contacted Mark while they were together. And then she tried to bring up when Mark had that whole like men's empowerment thing and Marlo brung the boys, and she was like Marlo was too comfortable with Mark. But the clip that they showed, she just looked like she was being it's not no, it looked like Mark was being hospitable towards Marlo. Like it didn't look like they knew each other. It just looked like, okay, you're filming the show, I'm on this show, let me introduce you to the boys. It wasn't, Kenya, it wasn't tracking, sis. And I'm disappointed because you better than this. You better than this. Ma'am, you're just better than this. And you just, oh, Kenya, it wasn't good. It wasn't good. On the whole birthday party debate, like, should have Martell paid? Shouldn't he have not paid? I already told y'all how I felt. He should have paid. He should have paid. He should have paid. And the reason why I say he should have paid is because you're running in a different tax bracket circle. Like, and on top of that, you're with Sheree, who likes to act like people don't got money or like she's not broke. Because Miss Sheree, the way Andy shaded the hell out of Sheree, I mean, he shaded the hell out of her when he said, you have an interesting relationship with bills. I would have been like, it would have been better if you just would have called me a broke-ho. It would have been better if you just called me a broke-ho. Not like a broke bitch. Like the fact that he was like, you have an interesting relationship with bills. The disrespect. But my thing about it is like, do I expect my friends' boyfriends to pay for me when we go on a birthday dinner? No, I expect him to pay for his girlfriend. But most of my friends, if not all of my friends, are either struggling graduate students or professional students. We all living off of loan money right now. Okay, we just trying to make a way out of no way. So I'm not even gonna play. But then I will say the men's the people I've been around in, like when I've been around my friends and their boyfriends, they'll still pay for stuff for me. Like there's been several times I've been in the cars with my friends' boyfriends in them, and they be like, Leah, get you something. And I'm like, nah. And they be like, girl, get you something to drink, get you something to eat. I'm like, oh, okay. I'm like, give me a Chipotle bowl, take me to Cookout and give me a cherry wine. It's like, give me a Cajun chicken tray, like they will. So it's like we're not going to act like it's not customary for like people's significant others to take care of their friends. We're just not going to do that. We're not going to act like that's not normal. But it's the fact that Sheree tried to act like that man was a big spender. Talking about he got big D energy. If that's all he got, he is worthless. He is. Because there's a whole industry built off of toys that you can use. I'm just saying. So you saying he got big D energy does not help. It doesn't help your conversation, Sheree. It doesn't. Then Candy and Sheree started to get into it. Just started going back and forth. Drew brings up about Sheree and her bills and her not paying for the balloons from last season for Marlo and I think Kenya's party, and then the joint party that they had. Then Sheree was like, I don't know why y'all worried about me, and she about Sheree. I need y'all to worry about Candy needs to worry about them dirty ass floors in her restaurants. And Candy was like, what did you say? She said them dirty floors in your restaurant. Then the stuttering competition started happening. They both just started, it was like they both just started stuttering. They were both getting so worked up that they couldn't say what they wanted to say. Next thing you know, I hear somebody, Candy, they started talking about each other's faces. She was like, Sheree was like, you so pressed about me. You talking about my businesses. Now you talking about my face and my body. And I think Candy said something about the body that you paid for or something like that. And then Sheree was like, we all have gotten work done. You've paid for you got your body done like 4 or 5 times. Then they start arguing about ass shots. Then they're talking about, like I said, dirty kitchen floors, then bodies. Then Sheree stands up talking about, girl, you could never. She said small face, big face, talking about her face being bloated. I don't know. It was so much going on. I said, okay. I was like, we doing a lot. We doing a lot. Because then she stood up and Andy was like, girl, let's sit down. Let's sit down. Let's sit down. But you could tell that Candy was getting riled up. Sheree, I as much as Sheree gets on my nerves, and I think she is one of the worst representations of a Capricorn and a housewife for me. But I will have to give her credit that although I don't think everything she was saying towards Candy was sticking, she was definitely getting underneath Candy's skin. And you could tell in Candy's body language and the way she kept repositioning herself, partly that might have been because that dress looked too tight. Because she was sitting up like this. I don't know, maybe she was uncomfortable in the dress. But also you could tell there's certain things that Sheree was saying was getting underneath her skin. Because then Sheree pulls out, but before she pulls out this like She News thing, Sheree talked about Rewind, because that's when Candy was like, well, we heard you didn't pay your designer. And then they flash across the screen where Rewind sent like a message saying that Sheree paid, like she paid everything in full. So Sheree was like, stop saying things that you just see on the internet. Like, everything was paid for. Like, what you talking about? And then that's when Sheree brings out She News. So she brings out this newsletter, this pamphlet that they were like, oh, it was so shady. It wasn't shady, but it was kind of funny because Sheree compiled all the bad reviews that Old Lady Gang and I guess Blaze have been getting. Because Sheree was like worried about she was like, stop worrying about She by Sheree and start worrying about why your venues keep getting shot up. I said, ooh. That is slightly a read, girl. Why does your places still get shot up? And then she had reviews on tags. I didn't know Candy still owned tags, which is supposed to be kind of like the same thing as Rashida's Press. But Candy was like, the difference between you and me is like, I'm not lying saying that my stuff is original designs. My stuff is from Shein and like it's resale wholesale stuff. You're getting stuff from Shein and slapping your logo on it saying that it's from you. Like, girl, and my stuff is reasonably priced. It's like $15 or $14. Your stuff is $75 and $80, which Candy wasn't lying about that. So then they kind of calmed down because they was really going at it until Andy got up and he hit the gong because he was like, I'm tired of y'all yelling at each other. I'm tired of y'all yelling at each other. So then Sheree was like, because Andy asked, did anybody get their She by Sheree that they ordered while they were in Portugal? And Sheree gets up because I think a couple of people was like, yeah, I got mine. And she actually gives Drew the tote bag that she wanted, the luggage bag that she wanted, but she handed it to Candy, and in it was like the clothes, I don't know what they call that for the movie when they snap it and it says "and scenes" on it, but that was for Drew. They run Drew's package. Now y'all know I don't see it for Drew. I am not invested in this whole situation with the kissing cousin Courtney, with Drew and Ralph getting a divorce, with the tie of it all. I'm just not. Even with Allison, I'm just not. But I'm going to speak about it because we got to. So they run Drew's package and Andy asked Drew about, asked Candy about Drew's comment about when she was sitting in her in her trailer, where she just says, yeah, like after this, I'm only going to do Lifetime movies and more like bigger productions. And you could tell Candy was perturbed by that comment. But once Drew explained herself, I was like, Candy, get over it. Get over it. Like, we find out that Drew is a union actor, and she even says, when Todd reached out or the project people reached out to my agent, they pushed past it because that is not my normal rate. You then see on the other side of the couch, you see Marlo and Sheree talking underneath their breath, where Marlo was like, didn't she only get paid $10,000? And then Marlo said, and then Sheree was, no, I think Sheree said, didn't she only get paid $10,000? Then Marlo said it out loud, didn't you only get paid $10,000? And then Candy was like, no, she got paid more than that. But then Drew said, but that's not my normal rate. I normally get paid more than that. And I feel as though Candy needs to be realistic. You may be a powerhouse in music, but in production and movies, you're not. So like Drew even said, I took a pay cut to do that job. And although it was nice, but shooting for 10 days straight was very grueling, and I was happy to help y'all, but I still stand by what I said. And I have to give that to Drew. If she's used to a normal pay rate and she cut it because y'all are friends and she wanted to help y'all out, then you should respect that. There's no reason for you to get butthurt about it. Because if you wasn't, if she took a pay cut, she took a pay cut. And if it's true that her agent was like, yeah, girl, no, and pushed it off the table, and then Todd had to have a phone call with her to get her to do it, then what we talking about? And also, Candy, not you, miss, I can buy everybody on this stage. Like, if she is worth more, she's worth more. Don't do that. Because you wouldn't want nobody to do that when it comes to you and your escape music. Don't do that. Because you was on that other show mad when SWV told y'all, we got more hits than y'all. The people came to see us, not y'all. So let's not. So Drew and Candy start getting into it about the whole kiss thing. And, they going back and forth about it. They talk about the whole thing where Drew was like, well, Candy, you even said if you had seen it. Like, and they go back to when they did the after show, and Candy was like, I was just saying that in jest. I know what I saw with my eyes. I saw y'all kissing. Like, what are we talking about? Like, I saw y'all kissing. Like, we're not gonna play this game. And Drew was like, we did not kiss. Then Sonya on the other couch is like, well, the only person who keeps switching up their story is LaToya. Maybe LaToya is lying or not telling the truth. But the thing about it is with Drew is, she's been caught so many times being dishonest and that's the bad thing about you being dishonest or telling half truths. Because I don't think we have caught Drew in lies. Even production, because Drew kept saying roll the bean footage. Drew, they have caught you in lies. But Drew also tells half of the story. And my thing about it is when you only tell half truths when you're actually telling the truth, people tend to doubt what you're saying. And that's what Drew is dealing with right now. Because she told Candy that it was her crew, her candy-coated clique of lies, saying that people don't want to go against Candy when it comes to, like, because she holds so much weight and power in Atlanta. And I believe that too. So, like, here's the thing. I see both sides of this argument. For one, Drew could be telling the truth, but she's, like I said, you so used to Drew not telling the truth. It's like, I don't know. She could have also kissed the girl and just doesn't want it out there, and she has that right to it. But I think where Drew got herself in trouble is calling Candy a liar. So now the person, like, you're calling her a liar, so now she feels like she has to vindicate herself because she's like, I'm not a liar. You're questioning my character the same way Drew kept saying y'all were questioning hers. It was just bad. It was just bad. That's just what it was. It was just bad. Because then Drew, they start going back and forth. Then Candy asks Marlo, like, Marlo, you saw it too. And Marlo said, I 80%. I'm 80%. And Candy's like, what do you mean 80%? Well, Marlo's like, well, she said she put it on her kids. And I don't think she would play about that. But she said, what I saw was her this close to LaToya's face. And they were like, and so then Drew was like, well, so see, we was just having a conversation. Candy's like, no, y'all were this close. Y'all were kissing and you had your arms around each other. I know what I saw. So they then start talking about the whole Allison mental health thing. And they showed the after show clip. And Drew was like, where did I lie? Because we see Candy tell Drew that, like, I'm going to be honest with you. I thought you were lying about your sister's mental health because Drew, you be lying. And everyone on the stage, and that's the thing, Drew was like, well, y'all can't prove it. Just because they don't have, like, a lot of footage about it, if majority of the people around you think you're a liar, you've been proven to be a liar, sis. It is what it is. So then Candy says that infamous line that a lot of people are upset about, where she said, now I feel like you trying to gaslight me. The way you say, Ralph gaslights you. Maybe Ralph is telling the truth. And then everybody on stage was like, ooh. So then Drew leans down the table and was like, are we good, Candy? Like, are we good? And Candy looked at Drew like, girl. And then everyone's like, Drew, and that is gaslighting. You clearly can tell that lady is not cool with you. And you asking, are we good? Like, are we good? Especially with that inflection in your voice. You trying to play with her the way Ralph be playing with you. And that's not to say that Ralph ain't no asshole and hasn't treated Drew horribly. But Drew picked up some of Ralph's traits, and she does the same thing. And a lot of people have said that. A lot of people have said when women get into bad relationships and they're in them for a long time, they start to treat the people around them the way that that person treats them. And you can see Drew does that sometimes with some of the ladies on the cast. So two things can be true. Ralph is a manipulative dickwad, and Drew can exhibit the same traits as Ralph. It is what it is. So they asked Drew about her music video. It's doing well. She checks Kenya about calling her video low budget. Kenya was like, well, I said my low budget comment trying to be funny. You said your comment about the last time I've ever done work was twa disparaging my career. But Kenya ends up apologizing. We then see Mayetta and Courtney pull up on the scene and things get underway. Mayetta and Courtney get up on stage. We find out that, I guess, Courtney telling two different stories as well. So she a liar too. Because on Speak On It, Courtney said that her best friends, Ralph's best friend dates like her cousin. I think that's what she said. Or dated a friend of hers. That's how they're cousins. But now she's sitting on this show, on the stage, saying that her dad's sister married Ralph's uncle. Either way, y'all wouldn't be cousins. I don't think you would. It's just liars. Everybody's just lying. Everybody's just lying. They then show Marlo's package. They talk about her dating Scott Lee. Marlo. Someone asked Marlo about, like, I know you haven't, like, have you had sex with him? She said, yeah. Then they get on Courtney helping Marlo expunge her record. She said Phaedra helping her. I don't believe that. I think Marlo said it just to piss off Kenya and Candy, just to get underneath their skin. They then talk about the whole sliding into the DMs thing. And Kenya made herself look stupid. I was so disappointed in Kenya's performance this reunion because, for one thing, Marlo was like, it's the same thing. Kenya lied and said, well, Marlo, like she said, Rio DM, like, was commenting on Marlo's story and it went to her DMs. That's not how lives work. And they told her that when you comment on a live, it stays in the live. He purposely went out of the live and clicked on her DMs to DM her, and he DM'd her. Then they went on, like, I guess a date to like a local restaurant, Kenya said Taco Bell, but someone said like Fiesta Tuesday. I don't know, some Mexican restaurant or something like that, or a fast food chain. And she said that Rio, because someone else asked, like, well, why wasn't Rio on the show if he was supposed to be your boyfriend? We saw him marketing his restaurant more than we saw him being with you. And she said something to the effect that, like, Rio got turned off after he saw in the super teaser Marlo talking about he popped her cherry or something. And then Andy and a couple of other people, even Candy, was like, well, that was filmed after. Like, that, the super teaser was posted after we were done filming. So that doesn't make sense to to say that was his reason for not being on the show. Then Kenya went on to say that, like, he had his friends calling him about, you dated Marlo. And I'm like, Kenya, this is not landing the way you think it is. Like, you sounded stupid and you got caught up. You should have never brought up the whole DM situation or reacted the way you did about the DMs when it came to Marlo. I get Kenya don't like Marlo. Kenya has every right not to like Marlo. Marlo has been a horrible person to Kenya. But if we gonna be arguing on a stage, you got to make it make sense. And this exchange wasn't making sense. Like, he wasn't on the show because he didn't want to be on the show. He only wanted to advertise certain aspects of his business, which he did. Y'all are dating. Okay, he doesn't have to be a part of the show, but just say, like, we're dating, and he really wasn't, like, into being on the show like that. But try to make it Marlo's fault doesn't make sense because, like, your reasoning didn't make sense. Like they said, the trailers are shot after y'all wrapped the season. That's how they make a huge trailer. So that didn't make sense, Kenya. It didn't make sense. And I don't even remember Marlo saying the pop your cherry comment, but if she said it, she said it. So then they start talking about who is a new bone collector. Like, who is a new bone collector? Is it Like, can Sheree bring peace as her being like retiring, being the bone collector? Courtney said something about her and Ralph sleeping at the same house when they were kids. It's not making sense because I swore on Speak On It, she said that Ralph dates her, like Ralph's best friend dates her cousin or her friend. That's how it's liars. All of them lying, just lying. So they talk about, like I said, Sheree being a peacemaker. But then Kenya actually posed a question to Sheree. How are me and Sheree supposed to be good friends, but you allow Kim, KKK Kim, shout out to the diva, to say like, ugh, I like to wish death upon me, pretty much. And then they rolled back the clip and it was like Kim didn't wish death upon Kenya, but she definitely was like, ew, that she's still alive. And Sheree could have said something, but Sheree didn't want to say anything because she's up Kim's ass for some reason. That bloated balloon lip lady can't do anything for you other than gamble her money away and sell her wigs. But I don't know. Sheree be faltering for the dumbest people. For the dumbest people. So they then have Marlo judge everybody's outfit. She said Mayetta was giving Sunday's best. She said she really loved Candy's look. She said Kenya under boob looked good, but she didn't really like the peacock feathers. Kenya took a turn at Marlo and said she looked like Miss Roper off of Three's Company. I didn't grow up on that, so I had to find a picture. And I was like, yeah, it's kind of giving that, Marlo. It is kind of giving that. She said she really liked what Drew had on. I think she said she just would have changed her shoes. She thought Sheree looked great. It was simple and chic. She said Marlo herself looked fabulous. She said Sonya looked fabulous as well as simple and chic. And she said she was living for Courtney's outfit. So they then get on the collusion conversation. They start talking about the different videotapes, how Marlo videotaped their conversation and sent it to LaToya, how Mayetta videotaped the conversation. Mayetta is a horrible... Mayetta and Courtney don't need to come back, and I don't think they are going to come back. Mayetta wasn't a good friend of the show. I saw her interview with House of Aaron, how she was trying to get at Kenya about who are these people being friends and we don't know who they are. And like when she did, she was talking about Kenya's interview with Carlos King, and it was just kind of like, she wasn't even talking about you, Mayetta. She wasn't talking about you. So no, ma'am. Mayetta she looked good on paper, but she wasn't good for the show. Because when things got heated, she couldn't really keep up, and neither could Courtney. Because neither one of them are like quick-witted or like have any cute like catchphrases or anything like that. Because they started talking about the ghetto comment, and Sonya was like, Courtney never called Candy ghetto when they were talking about, you know, Courtney was like, oh, Candy brings the ghettos out. But they were like, well, it was insensitive and an inappropriate comment. Then Marlo had a point where she was like, y'all talk about me sucking white cock all the time. I hate that word. And I was like, yeah, that is true. Y'all don't think that's inappropriate? I mean, both comments are inappropriate. And then Sonya brought up, it was like, well, Candy, I told you that, like, I stood up for you. And in that moment, I felt like I did stand up for you. She said, also, you set a precedent for our relationship, because when Drew posted that clip about how she flipped her hair in front of me and was like flipping on the flip-flops or something, I sent it to you and you said you thought it was funny. So, and Candy's like, well, I said that to your face. And Courtney, and then Sonya was like, well, I really didn't think it was that big of a deal what Courtney said, but it is what it is. It was like, it is what it is. They then start going back and forth about the door slamming situation. And Sheree got with Mayetta when she was like, you called me and Marlo laughing hyenas. And Mayetta was like, because y'all were. And Sheree was like, I didn't even see her slam the door on you. I was just trying to stop I was trying to keep the peace because I didn't see the door slam on you. On top of that, you're walking right behind her. Like, you know when someone's slamming the door on you. You know you was, and I mean, to Sheree's credit, you could tell Marlo was slamming that door in Mayetta's face. You could. And Courtney and Sheree was like, well, Mayetta, you should have said something. You should have said something. And Mayetta really couldn't keep up with Sheree. Mayetta couldn't keep up with Sheree. So then they start talking about the whole bitch comment. So then it was Drew versus Courtney. She admits that she agreed and admitted that, like, you know, she called Drew, saying that she did call Drew a bitch, when she was like, I only said that because Drew was getting on my nerves. She was like, we were talking about the situation that just happened. So when they were sitting down in the little when they were sitting down with the whole video situation, what now they're saying is, like, we were talking about what was happening. Like after LaToya, like after Drew was saying that she never said anything to LaToya, and she said the bitch comment came when she was like, we were reenacting you. And I really don't think she was calling Drew a bitch, because the way they showed it, it sounded like she was like, and this bitch, like she was pointing to Sonya, and it does give a little bit of validity of saying like maybe they were reenacting that part, but I don't think she was calling Drew a bitch. So they start going back and forth. They then start talking about Courtney's karma comment. It was a nasty comment to make. Like, it was nasty. Courtney has to own it. Like, her reasoning for saying it, you don't really have a reason other than you don't like Kenya. And you should have just said that I don't like Kenya, and I felt like it was karma that she fell. That's it. But to try to say, like, you know, karma is cause and actions and stuff, like, girl, just own the fact that you don't like the lady and you thought it was funny that she fell and call it a day. They then started talking about the whole Birmingham trip, where a person was like, Kenya, it didn't seem like you understood what was going on. It did not seem you understood what was going on. And Kenya was like, no, we were, Mayetta confirms that they were traveling up and down the road to Birmingham from Atlanta, and they were excited. They were even practicing with the band. They also talk about the salon. And if you don't know, this lady called Millie Chan, I guess she's from Mississippi, went to Kenya's establishment to try to like expose that it wasn't open. But Kenya said on the reunion that like, we decided to do a soft launch and it should be open soon, but I wanted to add a second floor. So I just decided to open up. I decided to halt the opening so we could do a second. So we could do a grand opening, I guess. So then we could introduce everybody and not have too much downtime between construction for the loft and opening up the store. So then Andy questions Kandi about her not being around in the group. He was like, yeah, it's been like pulling teeth to keep you in this group. And she's like, no, like, you know, I was coming off of a high and feeling anxious with the whole escape situation, that like when I got to the group, I was ready for whatever. She was like, I bit off more than I could chew with all the engagements that I had. So they then start talking about the whole Ty crush situation, where Mayetta let it be known that Drew did say that Ty was her crush. And then we had Drew and Courtney going back and forth. And then they start talking about the alleged affair, where Courtney was like, yeah, Ralph has told me how he's hurt by the alleged affair. Drew believes that Ralph has been coaching Courtney about the things that she's been saying. And then Drew and Courtney get into it about, you know, what Courtney said about, you know, the comment about the son. Now, Courtney didn't say anything ill about the son, but Drew, it was more so a fault on Drew and her in the whole parenting situation, because she verbatim said that's why she was trying to get Ralph to adopt her son, because she needed someone to pay for her to go live off with her lesbian lover. That didn't have anything to do with Drew and her, because it wasn't talking about her son. It was talking about the family, but it wasn't talking about her son. I didn't see it that way. I do feel like Drew was well within her right to give Courtney all the smoke that she gave her, but I felt like y'all were like hyping it up too much online when it was very a mid exchange. Like, she cussed Courtney out. There was no revelation. She said Courtney was an unfairable, fireable bitch and all of this stuff. But you was calling that lady cousin Courtney and was saying that was your friend and you didn't even know her. So that's on you, Drew. But it wasn't like a ooh moment the way that people were trying to act like it was so top tier. I just thought it was lame. I really did. I really did. But that was the end of part 1. And I'm glad this is only going to be 2 parts, because this season wasn't worth 3. Low-key, it wasn't worth 2. We could have ended here. But yeah, y'all, that is it. That is all. Remember to be bravely authentic and hop down in them comments below. Deuces.